So they are forming up nicely and tidily, led by Scott Borchetta in that fantastic Corvette, and he was putting it through its paces yesterday, and I'm sure he'll do the same again today. One of the larger groups so far. This is Group 6, Group 8, and Group 12 about to get underway. The pace car comes off. Beautiful roar of the muscle cars as they head out. Just a dab on the brakes going into turn 1. Corvettes, Vipers.
With us, Mark Drummond in that Alfa Romeo. This is usually the fan favorites. If you're joining us on our social medias or the SVRA app, leave us some questions or comments on social media. I'm monitoring our Facebook right now, so if you want to leave some questions or comments on our Facebook, we'll be answering them. Tell us where you're watching from and what you'd like to see more of, and we will try our best to provide that to you.
Yeah, and as Dustin quite rightly reminded us, we're only a couple of months away from doing it all again back at Sebring. And I know I'm excited about the 2021 schedule, 14 events, pretty big schedule. A lot of work, but it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, that's Trans Am. We have 18.
Yeah,
SVRA
is
18
yes.
races. As we look at this battle here between Group 12, Jerry came on top 2 weeks ago with these two cars in Group 12 at Circuit of the Americas. But right now, Jeff Lindstrom has Jerry a little bit. You'll notice the duct tape. He had it off yesterday that his crew, Dylan Archer and Bobby Archer and Jerry, worked hard to fix. It's good to have them out here. Jerry is actually his Dodge Viper Club president out of Houston, Texas. And then that's Mark Hildebrandt racing that Duntov Corvette, trying best to keep up with him. He's Group 6. Scott Borchetta is in our A production Group 6 Corvette, and he just took off. But the car in this group that I really love is the Group 8 of the Mora. We were talking about them last race, the father, son. I never know who's in the car, but it's a really cool car, really cool story. I interviewed them today. We're going to put that up. So right now, Race Monitor is saying it's Glenn Morrow in the car, and that's Jim Farley racing Hugh Booker, Mustang versus Cobra. And there is a good shot. Looks like he's getting a little bit of smoke from Mark Drummond. That's oil smoke. So I hope that the flaggers are putting out the SVRA.
Yeah, it's a little too much oil to be safe, isn't it?
Because Rick Ortman's right behind him. I hope he stays safe in that Corvette.
You know, one thing that I've now come to realize is how important the mechanics stroke engineers of these cars are. I know a lot of people do them themselves, the owners, but you've got to have a guy that knows the technology of the era to be able to get it right, yeah?
Yeah, and sadly, some of these guys that are SU or Weber carburetor tuners, you know, sadly, we're losing them. And the skill of that to actually fix and repair a car, our generation is more of the replace the whole part than actually tune the whole part and fix it. So it's becoming scarce. And keeping this beautiful 1966 Cobra right here of Jim Farley. Look at the short, what we'd call trunk lid to keep the aerodynamics of that Le Mans style Cobra going. But to keep those cars running, it's a 1966. Being pushed to its limits is really tough to do. And so I applaud Cobra Automotive and Jim Farley for keeping these cars running. They're beautiful. A lot of work and effort goes into keeping these cars tuned up and race ready. And I honestly don't think, give it up to R&M and Cobra Automotive, I don't think Jim Farley has missed a lap all weekend.
Currently in 7th position in our group races here. You're watching SVRA and the final event of the year. I still can't quite work out. You told me this yesterday, but explain how the Lexus gets in here.
Well, the Lexus is a a purpose-built race car. It raced in one of the race series. I'm not quite sure which. But basically, as Rick Parent, our chief of tech, says, if it's Mark Brummond is in. So he did see the smoke. So
the Alfa Romeo has retired.
Thanks to Road Atlanta for displaying the UR Oiling meatball flags that SVRA has made. But the Lexus is a purpose-built race car, and it's more than 7 years old, so it's out here racing with us. And we welcome, if you're watching and you're like, I've got one of those in my barn or garage, come out here and join Ron Pauley racing a Lexus, owns a Toyota dealership in, I think, Fort Smith, Arkansas. So he's doing a little R&D out here with us.
Yeah. It's been a great weekend of racing and a full field in each and every class. And of course, a massive field of over 40 plus cars in Trans Am. And that was a great race we just witnessed with all 5 classes involved to end our season. And that Lexus currently in what, 9th position overall with Ron Pauley?
Yep, 9th position. He's racing in Group 12. So Group 12 is basically cars that are prepared after 1973 or newer. Group 6 is 72 or older, but big bore. And there's Group 12A and 12B. 12A is the higher displacement, higher horsepower cars. But I'm hoping that the camera guys can give us a shot of that Penske liveried Alfa Romeo that the Moros drove. They went to our race school, father, son, son, at Roebling Road, and now it's almost odd to not see them at the racetrack. A really pretty car, and they are some of the most enthusiastic people out here racing with us.
You know, I think that's the first Alfa Romeo I've ever seen in all gray. It's either red, yellow, whatever, but it's, you know, never seen an all-gray Alfa Romeo.
And it's beautiful.
It's actually very cute.
It is. And he is actually our Gold Helmet National Championship winner from 2020 this year. Mayor Primo. I hope I'm saying his name right, and that's Rick Ortman, last year's Group 12 winner. And he also went through our Roebling Road driver school to relicense. He was a Trans Am driver in the early 70s, and he decided to come back to racing, so kind of got his little brush-up testing with us at Roebling Road, and he's been back out at nearly all the races the last 2 years. So we welcome Rick Ortman. Love having him out here in that beautiful Group 12 Chevrolet Corvette, number 26. But I'm hoping our camera guys are listening. I really want a shot of that Alfa Romeo because, man, does it show up on camera. It's showing that Mike Levine is out there. So Mike Levine was in a Group 3 Corvair, so if we get a shot of that white Corvair, it had drum brakes, making it a Group 3. The drum brakes weren't working, so he went home 30 minutes away and put on his disc brakes, moving him to Group 8. And hopefully he's out there running that beautiful.
Oh, that's right.
He's coming right by us. So he's on camera 1 position, right behind Scott Borchetta. If the camera guys are listening, that's Scott Borchetta in the 05. And then there goes that Alfa into turn 1.
Yeah,
Scott Borchetta leading
it.
Group 6.
Here we go. And your wishes are command.
Let's see, that's Jerry Robinson, second
through.
Overall, leading in Group 12. He got around Jeff Lindstrom.
There he is.
And there's that Corvair ducking down, but there's Glenn Morrow right there. Beautiful car, father, son, son. Chase and Logan, I'm sure, aside, cheering him on. Jeff Lindstrom must have had an off because now he's trying to catch up as he's passing our Group 8 winner from 2020, Scott Birkland. And then there's Mark Hildebrandt in that Duntov Corvette. Mark from Texas.
Yeah, talk a little bit about Duntov because that's a story that goes right through both SVRA and Trans Am, all the way to...
Yeah, so Edward Savajian and Alan Savajian run Duntov Motors out of Texas, named after Duntov, the designer of the Corvettes, the famous Corvettes. And they've been, Alan was a Trans Am racer back in the Willie T days, and then he started vintage racing, and they said, well, let's just make the fastest Corvette. So they started that, and they have a lot of customers. They also make street Corvettes and resto mods out of Dallas, Texas. And then Edward Savage and his son has taken over the business and wanted to start Trans Am racing again. So now he's racing in TA2, but still looking after these vintage cars. Edward is probably in my top 3 of the fastest vintage drivers that we have. And so I knew he'd be at the top in TA2 pretty quickly. And in one of his first tries, he's on the podium at Circuit of the Americas last year.
That's right. I remember.
So Lee Simpkins is saying he's watching from about 50 miles away. Well, Lee, I hope you like the broadcast, but you're really missing out on not driving that 50 miles this morning to come out here and join us. The drone shots are great, but there's nothing like feeling and experiencing these cars in person. So we will be back here with the Atlanta Speed Tour in March. Speedtour.net for tickets. Tell all your friends. Jamie Lesueur is telling us that Cobra Automotive is building his engine. So, Jamie, we hope to see you out here. They build some super fast and reliable. There it is, Mike Levine. There's my 2 favorite cars right there. Mike Levine in a beautiful, what I would call Series 1 Corvair. Look at that. Racing that Alfa Romeo of Glenn Morrow.
So, do you know, I mean, when you say Corvette, they were a separate company. It's nothing to do with Corvette, right?
No, it's just a Corvair rear engine, I believe air-cooled. That's the air part of Corvair. And there he is, Gary Moore, who knows Mike really well, because Mike also races a Corvair that's got a mid-engine Corvette-mounted car that he races in another group in another series. But this is his real, true, probably gold medallion Corvair. Beautiful car. He's a really good race car driver. Lives about, he said, about 30, 40 minutes away from here. But those are my 2 favorite cars in this group. Group 8. Corvair and an Alfa Romeo of Glenn Morrow. Coming out, guys. Mike Levine, we really appreciate the hustle, going all the way home, putting on disc brakes and coming back, putting on a show for your home crowd here. Look at that car. And I tell you what, the Corvair group is one of my favorite groups. They usually bring out, when we do a Corvair feature race, they'll bring out like 18 or 20 Corvairs. And if you know Corvairs, it's really hard to get a Corvair running reliably. The rear belt, the rear engine, the belt comes up, does a 90-degree turn, and so it's so much fun to watch those things. They've got so much body rolls.
So when was their heyday?
Jim Farley coming by. Beautiful Cobra passing that. I don't know if they had a heyday, because it seems like as soon as they got released, Ralph Nader wrote that book, Unsafe at Any Speed, kind of denouncing the Corvairs. But yeah. I find that he was wrong a little bit. I love the look. And they made some improvements to make them safer, but I think because of that book and the notoriety, they just couldn't hang on.
Scott Birkeland in that Porsche 911, very cute, very cute. He just did a 155.6.
Now, Scott Birkeland is at almost every race that we do. In fact, it's so odd not to see him in a race. He races with Dave Handy. I'll come up to Dave and Robin Handy and say, hey, why isn't Scott here? And great racer. He was an IMSA racer back in the day. He's one of our instructors, and he's out there. But joining us soon in the booth is going to be Jessie Pinnell. She's one of our registrars. Her husband, Joey Pinnell, is back home in California taking care of the kids, but she's going to come up here and put on these headphones. I'm putting her on the spot. She's doing everything
she's
she
running.
can.
I've never seen anybody.
Oh, Jessie, you got to come in and tell us how it went. We've run her ragged selling tickets to Speed Tour, and I've got some tickets and how we can get tickets. She is our guru of ticket sales, our registrar. So, Jessie, you joined us on the West Coast. You got to put these on. You got to talk loud. She hates me so much right now. She just
now. But
now she's going to pretend like she likes me.
She's lovely, though. She's going to talk to us.
Yesterday, I saw Joey had logged on and was making some comments. So you joined us with SVRA as the registrar, and I met you, I think, at Sonoma. And now you're our registrar, and you were selling tickets. Yesterday, you were slammed with tickets. Tell us about your weekend.
Well, at about 9 o'clock in the morning, we were cars deep to the end of the rows. It was crazy, and there was 3 of us.
But you managed, right?
We did manage.
And
how did the car show go?
As far as I know, it was good. That's Tony Strollo's job.
But you saw all the cars come through.
They had tons of cars coming through. It was fun.
as we watch Ron Fuller. So, Jesse, I'm going to put you on the spot even more. You got to pick a favorite car from this group. I love this car of Ron Fuller. I love when they come out here. That's a Group 8 car, I believe. Really fun to watch these guys racing these cars around. Ron Fuller in the 1977 Datsun 200 SX. I'm giving Jesse the list that we have right now.
Is she picking one?
Yeah, but you got to pick a favorite car. So, Jesse, you're a mother of 2 young children. You get to come out here, and you would think that it'd be a little bit of a break, but you probably get more tired on these weekends than you would with 2 young children at home.
I'm going to have to agree. I am so exhausted by the time I get home. I probably won't do anything for 48 hours other than take care of the kids.
Yeah, and her husband, Joey.
A warm bath and silence.
Her husband, Joey, comes out to the events and usually takes care of the kids. And I work pretty hard in an event, but when he brings the kids, I'd say he works harder than I do. He helps me put up my signs and banners, but then he's also keeping care of the kids.
Yeah, he's a really great dad.
So your first time to Road Atlanta, what's your first impression?
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful here. Georgia is really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I love it.
Do I hear the tone of a potential Californian looking
Transplant.
around at Georgia.
Look at it.
Yeah.
I like
Potential
it.
transplant here?
You may have already known that.
Maybe a little birdie told me. As we watch John McCormick, there's
That's
a
a pretty
beautiful car.
car.
Not only that, he's a veterinarian in real life.
Oh,
So if you like animals, you got to be cheering for John McCormick. Out in Nashville, Tennessee, racing with Cobra Automotive. And John and his wife are all about vintage racing. She loves watching it. I was up at turn 10A today during the Enduro, and she's up there as a spotter. I was setting up a camera, and she's up there spotting, telling them where the cars are. So she loves it just as much as he does, and we love seeing that. So Jonathan, you got to pick a favorite car in this group too.
Well, I think I'm with Jesse on this. I think John McCormick in that Ford Cobra.
Oh, she hasn't picked. I picked for her. She's going to speak for herself.
All right. Well, I've gone with the Ford
And if
Cobra.
you're at
There it
home
is.
watching, let's hear about your favorite car. Leave us in the comments on Facebook. I'm watching Facebook right now.
I just think
and I love it.
that looks fun to drive. He looks like he's having fun. It looks as though it's got plenty of grip. It's sticking nicely to, because that first corner's tough.
You know what? We're getting yelled at by Jim Harris on here. I love it, Jim. We're going to announce the cars that we're seeing on camera now. So that is Gary Moore right there in that beautiful Mercury Cougar with the vinyl top. Gary also races a Shelby GT350 with us, a Lola GT40. But there's that Mercury Cougar. I am loving this car. Always one of our fastest drivers in Group 6 as he's passing this beautiful Ford Falcon. Who's racing the Falcon, Jesse?
that's Bradley Steele.
What year is that Falcon?
It is a 64.
Oh, and Jesse has just now taken another job at SVRA, is going to come into the booth and commentate with us.
I love it.
Good stuff.
You're more than welcome.
So see, Jim Harris leaves a comment that he'd like for us to follow the cars on camera, and we're going to follow his directions as we come down here, the back straight. Looks like McCormick may be coming up and passing. That's Mark Hildebrandt right there with his GoPro on top of that car. And who is in this beautiful Shelby GT350, the number 74, Stephen
Coleman.
with Dennis Altoff, his mechanic, probably on the side of the track telling him what cars are coming up as we see Mayor Primo in that Alfa Romeo. But Mark Hildebrandt leads the train down what we would call the historic S's at Road Atlanta. I like the look of that car. Have you picked a favorite yet, Jesse?
I'm trying. It's hard to pick one.
It is, but I'm not a very political person. And hey, I'm picking 2 cars that aren't British, Jonathan.
That's, yeah.
You would think I'd pick the Cobra since they have some British lineage, but for me it's that Corvair and the Alpha. But this, these Shelby.
All right, Jesse, I got one for you.
GT350s
See,
are
how
good.
about this? You're looking at the 74, but behind it is an all-gray Alfa Romeo. There it is.
Mayor Primo's. See that, Jesse?
Oh, yeah?
That's a dove gray Alfa Romeo going through turn 7 there.
I was going to pick an Alfa Romeo.
There you go. Well, you've got 2 to pick from.
Yep, the one Mark Brummins went out, unfortunately.
Can't have that.
But he did win in our SGT class. And here we are, final lap. Scott Borchetta, big machine, vodka, Big Machine Records, Big Machine hand sanitizer with the Johnny Lightning.
And the Johnny Lightning Man.
You want to hear some good stuff?
Go on.
Jonathan, give us your last lap race analysis. Give us some hype here as we watch Scott Borchetta come across the start-finish line to win again in Group 6.
Well, back from the Unser family. He's been sporting the lightning stripe of the Unser family. The Johnny Lightning, Bobby Unser, stripe since he was a little boy. Scott Borchetta heading down to what has been a magnificent weekend for him, both in SVRA. He's a Group 6 champion, has been for many a year, now turned TA2 driver. And here he comes, down to turn 10, on the brakes, down through the gearbox, into second gear through 10A. Just a little dab, switches sides to go up the hill, change of gear as he comes under the bridge for the final time. Scott Borchetta will come and take the checkered flag here on the final lap of our group racing to end his weekend with a win. And well done to Scott Borchetta of Nashville, Tennessee. And if you want to go to the Nashville Grand Prix,
Music City Grand Prix, yeah, one of the owners of Music City. We have two of the owners of Music City Grand Prix coming in August. The TA2 will be racing at. Jesse, if you tell us which one's your favorite, we'll let you off the hot seat, but we hope that you join us in the commentator's booth again in 2021.
I'm going to go with Mayor Primo's Alfa Romeo.
Nice. Good pick. All right, Jesse Pinnell, you're off the hot seat. Thank you for your hard work this weekend.
We'll
did
see
great
you at Sebring in the commentary booth.
Maybe. Thanks, guys.
Well, we'll just bring the commentary over to the ticket box then. Thanks
Jesse
for coming
just
in.
Punched me very hard in the shoulder.
Ouch.
And she is an avid weightlifter with CrossFit, so she's probably the only person on our staff that could beat me up.
Yep. Scott Borchetta now.
She's I can't tell if she's crying
Jerry
or
Robinson
laughing.
taking second place.
But
Mark
Joey
Hildebrand
Pinnell,
third.
thank you so much for lending us Jesse to help out this weekend. Sorry, Jonathan, I'm doing a horrible job. I'm going to give it back to you.
No, I'm just going through who we've got. Thanks, Jesse. Jerry Robinson taking second place. Mark Hildebrand in third. Jeff Lindstrom in fourth. And then comes that beautiful Porsche coming through shot there.
John McCormick. He's raced the V-Rock with us quite a few times. He's been partners with Lynn St. James. Just one of our avid racers in Group 6 with Kurt Vogt's group, the Cobra Automotive. There are some beautiful cars in this class, Jonathan, but take us away.
Yep, Scott Borchetta, as you heard there, the Chevrolet Corvette winning in handily, obviously. Jerry Robinson second. Mark Hildebrand in the Chevrolet Corvette taking third. Jeff Lindstrom in the Ford Mustang Coupe in fourth place. Gary Moore in fifth in the Mercury Cougar. And then it was the Ford Cobra, my favorite car out there. John McCormick taking sixth place. James Farley seventh in the Ford Cobra. And then eighth was Hugh Booker. And ninth, Ron Pauly in that Lexus, the unique Lexus in a field of quite different cars. And Rick Ortman in 10th position. So that's how they rounded out our Group 6, Group 8, and Group 12 Race 2. We'll take a short break from here in Road Atlanta. Join us in a moment. More historic and vintage car racing coming.